Kevin Sheridan is in Washington. He's a Republican strategist and former communications director for Paul Ryan during his 2012 vice presidential campaign. And here in New York, Keith Boykin is a Democratic strategist. All right, gentlemen, Keith, let me start with you. Donald Trump gave his clearest indication yet that he would not pursue charges against Hillary Clinton, telling the Times, "I think it would be very, very divisive for this country." Is this an olive branch from the president-elect?
I think he had no choice. I mean, the president-elect or the president doesn't have the authority to initiate investigations or prosecutions. That actually has to be begun from the Justice Department or special prosecutors appointed. And so I think somebody must have spoken to him and told him that reality doesn't work the way he thought it does.
All right, Kevin, let me ask you. I want to show you the headline from Breitbart News where Trump's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, used to be an executive. They called Trump's reversal on prosecution a broken promise. Is Donald Trump alienating his backers, and does it even matter at this point?
No, I don't think it does. I think, look, as you just said, the president doesn't select who they prosecute. The Justice Department could reopen the case, could look at it, could see if there's new information there. If Jeff Sessions is appointed and gets through the Senate, that could certainly still happen. But no, I don't think he's got broad latitude to do what he wants anyway, Donald Trump does when he's in office, because I don't think, despite that headline from Breitbart, I don't think his core supporters are going anywhere. I think they're pretty happy that he's in office and he has the latitude to do what he wants, including, his pursuit of Hillary Clinton or his campaign rhetoric about that. So I think he's fine.
Keith, let me ask you, Donald Trump seemed to back off his support for waterboarding, softened his vow to abandon the Paris climate change agreement. What does this apparent flexibility signal at all to Democrats in Congress?
Well, I don't know what Donald Trump actually believes in. I think a lot of Democrats had that concern during the campaign. And we see the issue about the waterboarding with his potential selection. We see the question about Obamacare, his backtracking on that. We see he's backtracked on the Hillary Clinton prosecution. He's backtracked on the Mexican wall that he was going to be building. I don't really know what was truthful and what was just sort of campaign rhetoric. And I think that he's got to sort of figure that out. Obviously, as Kevin was saying, it may not make much of an impact with his supporters, but the American people were expecting some sort of consistency, and they're not getting it from the president-elect right now.
Kevin, Donald Trump downplayed any conflicts of interest with his business, saying the president can't have a conflict of interest. What do you make of the president-elect's handling so far of these conflict of interest accusations regarding his businesses?
Well, we just don't know yet, but he's going to have to, with his legal team, take a serious look at how he goes forward with his business and his family's involvement in it. And look, Donald Trump's all about getting results in an unconventional way. This would be another example of doing that. But I think at some point he's going to bump up into some legal and ethical questions that he's not going to have the answers for. And I think he's really going to have to take a hard look at what he does with the business going forward, because his name is the business. And, if they keep this thing the way it is, there's going to be a lot of conflicts, and he's just going to have to resolve that with his legal team. I know his legal team is very good. They're going to have to come up with some solutions for this going forward.
Well, there are solutions. I mean, the first thing is that he needs to sell his assets that are involved in any kind of receiving foreign income, because that's a violation of the Emoluments Clause of the United States Constitution. The second thing is he needs to put his company into a blind trust that's separated from his family. It can't be Jared Kushner or his children running this blind trust. And thirdly, he needs to release his tax returns so the American people will have full disclosure and transparency about what his international connections may be. Without doing those three things, he's going to be continually subject to criticism and suspicion from the American public.
Well, yeah, Kevin, what about some of those things that Keith just mentioned? I mean, what do you think realistically the possibility is here of either the tax returns or, the blind trust being completely separate from the family? I mean, we've obviously seen Ivanka Trump, we've seen Jared Kushner be very central to Donald Trump so far with the campaign, and now there's talk of Jared Kushner having a role in the White House. What do you make of that?
Donald Trump has achieved the absolute pinnacle of what anyone could ever set out to do. It dwarfs what he did in the business world, which was pretty impressive, building a real estate empire. I think he's got to think about whether or not he does unwind it in some way from, sell it to somebody, maybe really disassociate himself with it in some real way. I don't know that that's going to happen. We haven't seen any indication that that's how he's thinking yet, but they may get there when they start looking at what the legal consequences of it are, because he does not want to have this cloud hanging over his head throughout his presidency, because he wants to get results, he wants to get things done, he wants to go down in history. He's now up there with, presidents and the great men of our country. It's no longer about his business. It's about the country, and he should really take a hard look at that.
Yeah, a lot of open questions right now. Keith Boykin and Kevin Sheridan, gentlemen, thank you both.
Thank you.